got it strapped down. Look in the mirror. Think about it. Thoughts of a scholar. Yeah. Come on. We out here. Looking for a better way. Better way. This world rages. Watch the drama. Come on. Pull up in this world. I gotta get off my feet if I wanna make a living. I gotta get off my feet if I wanna make a living. I gotta get off my feet to make y'all see my head. I'm standing tall on my feet. It's time to make them listen. I hear the voices whisper, and when they speak, I hear them preach on the things that we need to keep us from being victims. Not as the key to victim. Read the most slicker and think quicker than the next. They're trying to get rich. Man, I'm just trying to get free. Bang on the system, not sleeping our sisters. Forcing our brothers to hustle. Making drugs for the love of the dough. They got us gunning for O's, killing each other, but we loving it though. Some of us act real bad when the Mac is on us. Packed on corners. Can you rip my flag to the
Shout out, Ybstv. Thank y'all for joining us again. It's your boy, Aries the Voice. And we back, Young Black Scholars. Oh, man, it's been a very trying month for us here in just the black community, the activist community, the streets. But before I even get into that, I'm going to recap last month, of course, because we had a great guest. My boy No Glizzy was on here, and I want y'all to check out his music again on SoundCloud, No Glizzy, YouTube, No Glizzy. Just do what you have to do, NOEGLIZZY. The kid is fire. We're going to get to the moan, groans, and complaints, and then we're going to get straight into this because this is a very important topic, as you can see my shirt, I Can't Breathe. Moan, groans, and complaints about last episode has some little bit of confusion with people that was worrying about what I was talking about with the Juneteenth as opposed to me bringing up August. And why did I bring up August and Juneteenth? Okay, I tried to put a little caption and a disclaimer underneath, but it was a little small so people didn't see it. What happened was Juneteenth was the day that it was announced, but unfortunately, a lot of slaves weren't necessarily free in Juneteenth. They didn't free them because they wanted to still grow crops. And so the government still allowed them to keep the slaves after June up until August in order for crops to grow. So I was just letting people know that even though it tried to be humane, it still was inhumane. So that was the moan, groans, and complaints. Now, I didn't even get my opening. This is Ybstv for the Young Black Scholars, where YBS is the question and YBS is the answer. I almost forgot that. And the question today is, why is Eric Garner not here? Okay. Eric Garner. We're going to get into that. On July 17, 2014, in Staten Island, Daniel Pantaleo and his partner, Justin D'Amico, addressed Eric Garner for so-called allegedly selling cigarettes, which prompted an illegal chokehold, which being applied for about 15 seconds, wherein the victim cried out, "I can't breathe," over 11 times. Well, 11 times. Before passing out of asthma and basically dying because of this asthma caused by this chokehold, which is supposed to be illegal after the Anthony Baez case. This was 5 years ago, and we've been celebrating Eric Garner. I shouldn't even say celebrating. Celebrating is a horrible word. We've been commemorating the death of Eric Garner because we was hoping that there would be some kind of justice as far as getting a prosecution for Daniel Pantaleo. Before even thinking about that, I want to get into some Eric Garner facts brought to us by Jassy, who's a friend of Mr. Garner, Jassy Robinson. One fact, Eric was not selling cigarettes at the moment. Maybe, supposedly, they say he was the cigarette man, allegedly, but they say on that day he was not selling cigarettes. 2, at the time, he had just broken up a fight, which people don't understand. 3, Pantaleo used an illegal chokehold, which was banned by the NYPD. 4, 2 other officers, Ramos and Ferlani, heard Garner say, "I cannot breathe," and did nothing. 5, Eric said, "I can't breathe," 11 times from these pigs and was ignored. 6, NYPD Lieutenant was Lieutenant Barron, is that what it says? Texted not a big deal when texted that a life of the so-called cigarette man, as he used to call him, his life was gone. He texted back, not a big deal. And 7, the medical examiner testified that the blow was lethal, that the chokehold was the lethal cause of Mr. Garner's death. So why don't we have any justice? I'm not really sure. A little bit about Daniel Pantaleo, right? I want to tell y'all about this because this is the reason why I don't understand when we have justice. In an article from Think Progress, it reports that Daniel Pantaleo has, 7 disciplinary actions brought against him, 7 disciplinary complaints, and 14 individual allegations against him, 4 of which were substantiated by the NY City Civilian Review Board, the CCRB, and 2 of them one stemmed from 2011 for a vehicle stop, another one from 2012, which is a stop and frisk, and both of them were proven that he was being abusive. So Mr. Pantaleo seems to have a history of abuse, but yet, in this case, it doesn't seem to be brought up. They don't bring up the fact that he has a history of abuse, stemming back from even 2011, but 7 disciplinary complaints, 14 individual allegations. So, I mean, he has an abusive history that, you know, they don't bring that up when it comes to the police, right? But when it comes to us, of course, they bring up all our past. So now Daniel Pantaleo used this chokehold, right, that they tried to say was called a seatbelt maneuver. And so I want y'all to understand this because these are the things that they're using to try to justify Pantaleo not being prosecuted. They say he used a seatbelt maneuver. Now, I was trying to figure out what a seatbelt maneuver is. You know, so a seatbelt maneuver is supposed to be a maneuver where you come kind of across the chest some kind of way, or, you know, and somehow when I looked, he had his, pretty much, if you watch wrestling, it looked like a rear naked chokehold, you know. So I wanted to know exactly what is a seatbelt maneuver as opposed to a chokehold, and is there a difference, because a chokehold is supposed to be banned as of 1993 or 94 with the Anthony Baez case. So I did a little bit of digging. I wanted to look at the what the law enforcement had as far as what they consider a seatbelt maneuver, because I'm going to go by their standards. So I'm going to upload a video of the seatbelt maneuver, and technical director, let's see if we can get some kind of justification what a seatbelt maneuver is supposed to look like.
This is your Blue Line BJJ tip of the week. Today we're going to be talking about seatbelt takedowns, and specifically his spine alignment when I'm going for this seatbelt takedown. As he's here facing away from me, I bring a hand over the shoulder, hand on the armpit, I connect my seatbelt together. If his back is straight, is vertical, pretty easy for me to get this takedown here. As we're in place, I drive the hips forward, I knock him back down, it's all good. The problem is if his shoulders end up in front of his hips, let's say he's either running or for some reason he's kind of bent over. If I go to connect my seatbelt, that's going to put my hips above his hips. So as I'm here like this, it's easy for him to lift me, it's easy for me to get off balance. I have the risk of falling over, I have the risk of being thrown. Instead, what I want to see is this. If he's bent forward and I go to connect this seatbelt, I want to throw my hips off to the side. So instead of my center line being over his center line, or my center line being over his tailbone, I'm going to make this connection and throw my body off here. As I'm sitting off to the side, there's less chance of me being thrown. I'm twisting his upper body a little bit, putting me in a more dominant position. Now, it may be a common grab for him to try to reach for this leg. I want to make sure my underhook maintains kind of the shepherd's hook here, kind of controlling this arm so he not able to turn into me. So from this seatbelt, when he grabs onto this leg, I just start to twist him and lower him down to get him back to his butt. This is your Blue Line BJJ tip of the week.
All right, so I want y'all to pay attention to that video. I want y'all to pay attention to that video because it showed what a seatbelt maneuver by the law enforcement guidelines, what it's supposed to be. And then I want you guys to continuously go back to Google and look at the picture when you see this man, whether he's standing up being choked or whether he's on the ground in a rear naked chokehold, if these two look similar. Now, I understand Mr. Garner was a big man, but they even demonstrated how to not jump on top of somebody, which is exactly what Officer Pantaleo did when he jumped on the back. That's not even proper, even by their standards. So I don't like to jump to conclusions, you know. I like to look for the answers. So one thing I want to know is, why do we march? People wonder why we march. We march to make people aware. After you search for the answers, you have to make people aware of the things that you find. And one thing that I also found was that during this time, at least for the first 2 years, during this time, Daniel Pantaleo has earned over $20,000 just in overtime alone while on desk duty. So they took him away, they took his badge and gun away, but while a family is grieving, this man made over $20,000 in overtime while on desk duty his first 2 years. His first 2 years since the incident. In 2016, his salary rose to $119,996, which is $40,000 more than his base salary. So this man's continuously making money, making actually even more money, to the point where it's almost like he has a raise. They said payroll indicated that was 35% increase in OT pay, and a 14% increase in his total pay from 2015. That was from 2015 to 2017. You know, they say 23,000 out of that 40,000 was OT, and what does it say? About 13 or 14,000 of that was what they call unjustified pay. What the hell is your unjustified pay? You get about 13, 14,000 for unjustified pay? I don't know. So when you wonder why we march because we want to make sure that we get justice, because these cops get off and the numbers are there and still get paid while our parents and our children have to suffer and come out our pockets for these funerals. So I went with Black Lives Matter Greater New York to D.C. because there was a statute of limitations that was going to run out on July 17th, which was the 5-year anniversary of when Eric Garner was murdered. And I've traveled with them because we went to D.C. to try to make sure that there was no statute of limitation, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't believe there was a statute of limitation on murder. But I don't know. Actually, we're going to check this video out, and y'all let me know what y'all think. We'll talk about it afterwards.
Because the only thing that America responds to is justice. And the bottom line is, no one in politics is listening to us because we as a people are not applying enough pressure. So we are out here with a very special group of people, all these people like you, Aries, Angie, Joseph, Sammy Diesel, Vonnie. I mean, we got real activists out here. We're about to go down to D.C. and make some noise, like real noise, and raise awareness. Because what nobody realizes is the feds, the federal government, can still prosecute Officer Daniel Pantaleo. The federal government can prosecute him, but we have less than 48 hours to make it happen. Wednesday, July 17th is that day.
This is a stance for policy that we need to see sweep the whole country. When people say they can't breathe, or any derivative of that phrase, there are certain things that should be triggered into place, city by city, state by state, and for the federal cops. And both what happened to Eric Garner and what happened to Andrew Pierce is a tragedy, but as it is, we absolutely must change policy. So when politicians say that they're going to stand with us, whether it's AOC or anybody else, what they really need to be willing to do is produce a piece of legislation that makes it illegal to not attend to people who say that they can't breathe. Period. We need legal structure so that we can take legal action when people lose our lives.
I just want to say that, see, Gwen is not here, but I am here for her, to fight for her, as well as Eric and Andrew, and all the voiceless. So, with that being said, we will get justice for them.
What I came to realize a long time ago was that the forces of white supremacy are extremely powerful, well organized, and militant. And if we have any chance of defeating that, it means that we have to organize and get together as a unified front, no matter what the cost. As people of color, black people, black, brown, indigenous, we have a responsibility and an obligation to protect our families and our friends and our communities.
I'm absolutely afraid for my children, especially my young men, especially the young youth that I work with every day that complain about the abuse of police brutality, them being stopped for no apparent reason.
So I stand up for everybody that is afraid to fight police or scared of police brutality. You don't gotta be scared of it. Stand up and fight back. And if you lose from fighting back, you still won. Why? You fought back.
Because you stood up.
You stood up for yourself. And I stood up for everybody in New York City. Black Lives Matter.
Okay. This topic is very emotional for me because I lost family. Oh, sorry. It's okay. I understand. It's okay. I lost family due to police brutality. And my mom goes through it. She doesn't like talking about it, but...
First of all, the reason why I'm here is because I'm tired of injustice. Yeah. Eric Garner was murdered for the people that we entrust, right, to be lawful. Sometimes things happen. What happened there was a travesty.
I think that we'll look back at these times and look at it as another form of slavery. And I'm just sorry that it still exists and that there's not more people of my skin color doing more. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that a man can get choked to death and that there's no repercussions so far. I'm sorry.
I'm here and we're going to show our resolve that we want justice for the Eric Garner family. Thank you.
About to get beamed up. Okay, so I don't know if y'all heard back there, but today, about 30 minutes ago, the Department of Justice agreed to meet with Miss Gwen Carr.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The Department of Justice responded to us 13 minutes ago.
Yeah.
All power to the people.
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 So, I sent the text to Miss Gwen. We went out there and made some noise. We held it down. Our prayers are with you in the morning for her meeting. Her response, thanks, Hawk. I really appreciate what you and the rest of the supporters did on my behalf. I am so proud of you all. So as you know, tomorrow my family will meet with the D.O.J. Thanks for your prayers. I would have come if I could, but I'm still in bed from yesterday. She would have came, but listen. She knows we got her back. She know we here. She know we fighting for her. Victory!
Victory!
Seat belted out, arm maneuver out, arm barred out. That's right. There's no excuse to what they did to Eric Garner, and there will be no excuses in the future. So we're out here in New York protesting while Reverend Sharpton is in D.C. having a meeting about the Eric Garner law. This law will be passed. And if we don't have no justice, it's not going to be no peace. No peace. We're going to continue to shut it down until we get justice.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. It's been super busy. Shut it down. Because I've been on my own. Shut it down. Shut it down. I will keep going. Shut it down. I will go every day. Every day there will be a demonstration. Every day there will be an outrage. Every day I will be angry. Every day the rest of everybody behind me will be angry. The world is angry, and you will know. That's right. You will know that we are angry, and we want to know what's up. What's really going on, justice system? What is really going on? I stood with ASAP Rocky's mother last night, and they gave her the same rehearsed line that they gave me, that they need more evidence. And they have a video. They have a couple of videos. So what is the excuse? What is the excuse? 5 years, too long. 5 years, and your time is up. We will not wait no more. We need answers now. We want answers now. We don't want to wait till August 28th. We don't want to wait 2 weeks. We waited 5 years. We waited 5 years. And we won't wait no more. Fire Pantaleo!
Fire Pantaleo!
That's my message. Every day. Fire Pantaleo! Fire Pantaleo!
The Lord justice has been delayed.
It is still delivered. We will continue to rally. And protest. And speak about what's happening in the city. Because this is our city. May we continue. To grow in strength. Empower with the Garner family. Advocates and allies. May we take the call for accountability. To the cold. Into the streets. Let us be motivated. To hold our heads high. And fill our hearts.
I don't know the police is here to kill our people. Police is protect us, to protect the population. My God, the police are killing us, killing our kids.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Okay, so before I get into my little tirade, statute of limitation. Crimes considered heinous by society have no statute of limitation. It also goes on to say, although there is usually no statute of limitation for murder, judges have been known to dismiss murder charges in cold cases if they feel the delay violates the defendant's rights to a speedy trial. So in no way, shape, or form do I see how that fits. William Barr, you should be ashamed of yourself. Bill de Blasio, with the power to fire this man, you should be ashamed of yourself. If Anthony Baez had the power to fire the case, the officer over the Anthony Baez case, then you have the power to fire this man. You should be ashamed of yourself. After trying to fight for a statute of limitation that should have not been put on the case, what the Justice Department did, as you see in that video, was say, you know what? You're right. There is no statute of limitations on murder. So we're not going to go with the statute of limitations. We're just going to do exactly what we wanted to do in the first place, which is not prosecute this man, right? That's what they wanted to do in the first place, okay? They didn't want to prosecute Daniel Pantaleo. They knew that they weren't going to prosecute him in the first place, so they were going to try to sweep it underneath the rug, forcing this fake statute of limitations. The Department of Justice should be ashamed of itself. I want to say more, but I want to make sure that I keep my show on the air, so I don't want to jinx myself. But this justice system has a really big problem because it's showing that a man can kill somebody, get paid more money to kill, and have the law behind him, the Department of Justice behind him, even though, as I said earlier, the medical examiner ruled that the chokehold was the result of this man dying. This should be a homicide. He should be prosecuted. But now, because of the federal government, that's now not even allowed to happen. So obviously, as you see, we're calling for the firing. I'm not calling for the firing of Pantaleo. The people are calling for the firing of Daniel Pantaleo. And I have to say that I agree. He should be fired. To say the least, he should be fired. He should be in jail, in my opinion. It's murder. The chokehold is an illegal chokehold. The medical examiner said that that was the cause of the man's death. He said, I can't breathe 11 times, and he's not here. Just like another case, Andrew Kiss said the same exact thing, I can't breathe 11 times, and he's not here. It's sad state of affairs we in. But I want to start to get ready to close out because we're running low on time, and I can really talk about this forever. But I'm going to leave with a phrase from my mentor, my book mentor I've never met in my life, but Malcolm X, who says, anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something you have to do for yourself. And to the black man, let the white man know that you are really ready and willing to pay the price that is necessary for freedom. Our people will always be walking around as second-class citizens, or what you call 20th century slaves. He went on to finish that by saying, the price of freedom is death. If you feel motivated to do something right, I have one question for you. That question is YBS. We the question, we the answer. What I want y'all to do is please tune in, continue to tune in. Sometimes I'm gonna have musical guests, but sometimes I'm gonna have some real good information for y'all. And just continue to tune in. This is YBS TV, Eric Garner, I Can't Breathe, and we out. Scholar salute. Tune in next time.
Why the white man got a strap down? Look in the mirror. Think about it. Thoughts of a scholar. Yeah. Come on. We out